This is Dr. Gadja, an economist, computer scientist, medical doctor, and global health PhD epidemiologist. I do this as a call-in to help Ghana chart a course for greatness and, in the process, help Africa along the way. There are many issues we'll be discussing on this platform, and we welcome your comments, rebukes, and questions. Today's topic. Again, this is Dr. Gaja coming to you after a few quite weeks of being absent. And as I promised you the last time I came to you, that I'll be talking about taxes, especially import taxation, and how I see it from the African perspective, especially Ghana for that matter. In actual fact, if you look at all the African countries, they are pretty much doing the same thing, what they had gained from several years. They're doing the same thing. And if we will look at what Einstein says, doing the same thing, expecting different results is not the best thing to do. And if you look at it, we are not getting any different results than we got decades or even half a century ago. Most of the African countries are coming into age, at least more than 50 years, and are entering into the 70. Now I have a number in my head that usually at the 70th year mark for countries, there is a revamping or a reviving of the fundamentals that sets up that country. And as Ghana is approaching 70 years, I think there is coming that fundamental reset. And so what I do is to sensitize academicians here, mainly economics, the African economists, and political leaders, so that we can put down better economic foundational structures so that our economies can do better and serve our citizenry. Every country, although it is not so, but every country's primary goal is to ensure that its citizens are better off. They have jobs, like full employment. They are able to meet their desires and needs. They have good nutrition. Their standard of living is okay. And they are happy. That is the primary focus. That should be of every country. And so it should be the primary focus of Ghana. But however, it is difficult for us to see that happening in our countries, in African countries. Usually I try not to go beyond I stay within 30 to 45 minutes. Try not to go over that time because it becomes a little boring, especially for people who are not in this field. They basically are not in economics, reasoning, or any of that area. So I try not to go beyond those things. Now, I had also indicated that some of the things that you may hear on this channel seems too simplistic. Now, I am trying to speak to an audience that may not necessarily have the expertise in economics. So I try to make it as simple as possible so that it can be understood, or at least the perspective from which I am coming can be appreciated. However, if maybe anybody will will want to engage me in a debate as to some of these things that I'm saying, I am all ready for that. And I could pick up that anytime anybody comes up wanting to debate me on the issues that I have commented. Now, on taxes. Now we know taxes are called fiscal policies in the control of the economy. One thing that is very surprising to me is that the African economies are run, especially those that I know, are run almost as if economics theory is stupidity. Basically, they don't apply economic theories. For instance, we all know that you can be able to control the supply of money or money in your economy when your banking sector is active. Basically, when people save their money in banks. Yet, you don't see African leaders making rules or regulations to enforce banking. So it looks as if those things we learn in school in terms of economics as to better control our economies are not being applied in Africa. And here I am coming to talk about some of these things, especially in taxes, so that I will sensitize the idle mind on these economic theories to recognize that the theories are foundations from which we can think and design policies to help us. Now, a laissez-faire economy is one that you just leave without any control. And there's no economy that is doing well in this world that is laissez-faire. Now you have capitalism is supposed to be that, but it has to be regulated for it to work properly. You have to understand the economic theory underneath the policy you are implementing and put in place the necessary regulations to bring it in focus when it is going astray. It's the same thing as laws. You know, we make rules and we put in laws and punishment and reward so that we can control the rules that we make so that people don't go astray from the rules. Same thing with economics. We have to understand that economics, we hear it all the time, they talk about the economic system. But in most of these countries, our countries, we behave as if the economy is not a system. One thing that I've observed very sadly is that most of our economies hold on so dear to this concept of production called division of labor. Division of labor is a concept of production. Even though now it's not working that much because it creates lag in even the production activity, it is never a concept for management or controlling or ruling as a government. But I see the African governments being run in that way, division of labor. You see a department that has control of their policies, control of their budget, control of their revenue and everything like that. No. Division of labor is not for that purpose. It is completely a production purpose. You don't see division of labor being talked about in economics too, which is, I'm talking about Ghana, they talk economics too, or development economics. It's not part of macroeconomics. And so our government should not be doing that. In macroeconomics, the process is just like collective responsibility of an executive system. So you don't have division of labor. All the departments or all the ministries have to be in a pyramid form, controlled from the head. The president has to know and has to decide the budget of the departments and know their revenue. And policies are not supposed to be given by the departments, although they are the ones that have the knowledge of what it is. Now, the government has to be able to, like when you're managing a company, you have some deliberations that can be taken at some levels. And you put regulations down. Oh, say for instance, if there should be a contract awarded for, say, 1 million Ghana cedis, the contract should not cease at the ministerial level. It should go to the cabinet level, whereby everybody can see what is going on. One other thing that is so surprising is that these departments all have their bank accounts. It's not good. That makes it possible for the department head to do things that the president or those higher ups do not have an idea. Now I looked at the New York economy, and the way it's set up is that all payments come out from the same account, all revenues come to the same account. So anybody who opens the account can see the expenditure and revenue. It's right there. Or some will say income and cost. But they can see it. So it is very hard for you to do something that another person will not be able to see. Instead of a situation where these ministries have accounts that the minister operates, we should move away from that and come to a centralized budgeting institution whereby we have one, like the government has one prime account. So when the president opens it, he's able to see anything. And if it is the finance ministries that took the money, they're able to say, finance minister, can you tell us where this payment went and what the need is? And so on and so forth. But applying division of labor at the top of our system is a wrong approach. Division of labor is for production. It's not for management. Management has to be a pyramid from the center coming down. That is just on the side. Now I'll move on quickly to the main things that I want to talk about. Now I want to bring some things to the fore. We understand, this is economic theory, not in the Malthus area. In Malthusian theory says that as population increases, it will become more difficult for us to feed ourselves because development resources are scarce. We all understand from economic theory, macroeconomics 1, that the factors of production are 1, labor, 2, capital, 3, raw materials or resources, and 4, entrepreneurship. I want to focus on labor as very important in the production process. In the Malthusian era, it refused to recognize the contribution of labor as very significant, hence the scare for which Malthus said, so we have to reduce population. Later on, Peter Thomas, came and said, with every mouth comes 2 hands to feed it, and debunked Malthus's theory, which had put a scare in our population, and people began thinking that we have to reduce population, hence the increases of family planning and all those things that try to reduce childbearing. But in this era, the economic theory on population is not like that. We have come to understand that high population gives access to more resources because labor itself is a resource which wasn't recognized before. It gives rise to cultural diversity, that is, if the population is diverse and foreign. It gives rise to economic growth It increased demand for goods and services. Obviously, more people means more aggregate demand. And it leads to cost efficiency, because we understand from economics of scale that the more you are able to get market for your products, the overhead cost per unit of production begins to fall, and so it leads to cost efficiency. Another aspect of population is when it is useful, lots of potential workers for the future is gained. So that makes labor the prime important resource of production. However, in Africa, when our populations are increasing, we get scared. We begin to think that we cannot feed them. Meanwhile, these theories of old that scares an economy because of increasing its population or because of the youthfulness of its population have been debunked. Yet, we hold on to that. And I hope that we understand the benefit that one gets from an increasing population or a youthful population. In fact, most of the countries in the world will want Africa's situation, whereby the population is youthful and is growing. But soon, as the World Bank has said, in about 50 years, if we are not careful, we begin to go down in population. My friends, we have to be smart. One thing I've recognized sadly is that as our population is increased, because we are scared, we are trying to export our population, our labor, to other countries. They will take it. They know the importance of it. We've spoken about brain drain some time ago in the past, and it's still happening now. African countries think increasing population is a problem, so they quickly export their labor outside. And then it is sad. The point is that it's sad only because that we don't know the value of it. And those who know the value of it take it and make their population great. If for nothing at all, the aggregate demand that it adds to their population, you realize that people will eat, people will wear clothes, people will wear shoes, will have shelter over their head, they will buy things. That means increasing production of all those things, which means the companies become bigger, which means more jobs are provided in that economy, which means the economy grows bigger. But we don't know that. We as African economies don't know that. So we are happy to ship our labor force outside for penance. I mean, for look, if you think about the value of that which we ship outside compared to the remittances they send home, it is nothing even to be compared about. These are just side issues that I'm talking about. I'll come to the tax issue. It's not to be compared about. It's the same way like mining for gold and for whatever we mine for. If you really think about the costs in terms of human labor, sickness, public health problems, and destroying the ecosystem, the cost of it, and we compare it to the value of the gold or whatever we mine, the value we get for it, we realize we shouldn't even be doing that. Let me put one issue just across. Now, we say we want to be developed like the West. You and I know that if you want to copy somebody, you don't begin to learn how they behaved when they were kids. You learn how they are behaving right now. That is how you copy them. That is how China is trying to copy the US. Now, but if you are copying somebody, if you are trying to copy somebody, as the Bible says, you can never be better than him. The Bible says you can never be better than your master. Same way. If you are copying, you are a copy. You can never be better than the original. That is true, but at least you can match the copy. That is the problem China has. They copied the US, they got there, they cannot beat them. They can only match them. And that is what if you are copying, like Bible said, you can never be better than your master. But at least you can be like him. So for us, Africa, we are trying to be like the developed countries. And we are not trying to do what they are doing. They don't want to mine anything in their countries because of the effect on the humans. It reduces life span. Basically, longevity reduces. Their population begins to die sooner. Because you see, as you dig down, bacteria and pollutants, pathogens that were buried deep under the earth that couldn't come outside, are now exposed to you and I. Something that was buried maybe several thousands of years ago now is outside. Diseases like the Black Plague, whatever, is now outside. Now, I don't want to talk about viruses and those things, because viruses are not, you may think they are living things. They are not living things. Viruses are not living things. But the point is that it is some of these dust particulates that are in the atmosphere. When it gets into your body, the way it affects the bacteria in your body is what creates the disease. You're right. I just there's something on medicine. So that is what it is. So when we bring all these things up, we are putting our population at risk. We are putting our population at severe risk. We're not copying the guys. Meanwhile, we want to be like them, and they don't want to mine, they don't want to drill, they don't want to do anything. And we think that by mining and drilling and bringing all these dangerous particulates from deep down the earth's surface outside is doing ourselves something, and we are going to get money for that, and so we are happy. If we really understand the fundamentals of money, these things will not make us happy. We will know just from the get-go that we are fooling ourselves, pretty much deceiving ourselves. The guy you want to copy is not mining. First, ask the question, why? Why is he asking you to mine when he is not mining? Because he realizes the value of mining. And one thing I want to say is that every part of the world has gold. Every part of the world has bauxite. These things are under the soil. When certain chemicals and things come together over a long period of time, these things get created, just like rocks. When you learn the way rocks are created, same thing. So when those things exist in the atmosphere, in the soil, they become gold, silver, or whatever, iron ore, or whatever. And so every country has it. But the cost of getting that thing from where it is to the surface for human use at times is so exorbitant that these countries that are smarter don't want to go for it. And so they rely on us. And we think that's the only way we can make money. The other thing that is very funny, which I observed, is this. We go to school, learn about economics. I think I will bring the tax thing on the other segment. Learn about economics. And economics tells us that prices depend on demand and supply. Yet we hear some of our leaders say that we will make our country the biggest gold producer in the world. Bear in mind, at this moment, when they were saying this, another country was the biggest producer of gold. And then they say, we'll make our country the biggest gold producer of the world. And everybody that is concerned about this country, let's say that all the stakeholders of this country get excited. Now, what do they get excited about? Our country will be the biggest gold producer in the world. Let's assume the current biggest gold producer in the world, let's just assume, produces 1 ton of gold. And this country produces, let's say, half a ton of gold. So the total supply of gold on the market is 1.5 tons. Let's assume they are the only two guys supplying gold in the world. So now 1.5 tons of gold is all that we have as gold supplied. And based on that amount of gold, let's peg the price of gold at $100 per ounce of gold. So that gives us a particular total for all gold sold in the world. Now, the price of gold is $100 per ounce. Then this country says, I'll be the biggest gold supplier in the world, or gold producer in the world. Guess what? Even before he begins to produce gold, more, trying to beat the biggest gold producer, he has about half a ton more to go to get to 1 ton, to be able to beat or match the biggest gold producer. Think about it. Let's assume the demand for gold did not change. The demand for gold is at 1.5 tons of gold, for which we got the price of gold to be $100 per ounce. What happens? Immediately, this is what happens. Immediately, this country announces he's going to produce more gold. If I am somebody in the gold business, what I immediately realize is that there will be more gold on the market from the level that it is. I don't know how much that country is going to produce. I don't know if they can match the biggest gold producer. I don't know if they can even increase their gold production to a significant amount. But one thing I know sure is that they will increase gold production more than it is now. Can be sure of that. Because they announced it is because they know they can do better. So once I am sure of that, speculating on the gold market, just based on my perception, I will speculate gold prices, given the demand of gold, to be less than $100 an ounce. So what happens on the gold market? Now gold prices drop from $100 based on speculators' prediction, basically forecasting of future price of gold. So what happens? They all hedge. As they hedge, what are they doing? What do I mean by hedging? For instance, let's give you an example. I buy half a ton of gold. I'm one of the major buyers, major demanders of gold. So I buy half a ton of gold every month. Let's say the production 1.5 every month. 1.5 tons of gold is produced every month. Now I buy half a ton of gold every month, and I see or I hear the announcement of this country that says they are going to be the biggest gold producer in the world. Now, instead of buying half a ton, I have to sell some gold to continue to make money and continue to keep my business going. But I'm not going to go buy half a ton, because I know gold prices will fall. I'll probably cut my demand for gold in half and then hedge against the price that is going to fall. Hold on to money and wait for the price to fall. Because once I hedge, other players in the market will also hedge. So the demand of gold that is taken off the market is almost reduced immediately, leading to a fall in price, although the gold has not yet been produced. And immediately that happens, you see what happens? The price of gold has fallen. That country that used to produce 1.5 tons, that produced half a ton of gold, let's assume they increased it or they've not increased it yet. We'll begin to get 80 ounces for their gold instead of the 100 ounces they got before. Now, what led to the price fall to 80 ounces? Because the demand adjusted to the expectation in increase in supply, which has not even occurred yet. Now they get 80 instead of 100 for the gold that they had gotten 100 for before. So what happens? The revenue of that country falls. We're not talking about whether it's in cities or dollars yet. The revenue of that country falls. So what has the country done to itself? It has reduced its revenue. It's hurt itself. But yet African countries keep doing these things. And as if we cannot see. I remember in the 60s, Nkrumah reduced the supply of gold even of cocoa by burning some cocoa. So to increase the price of cocoa on the market. We see OPEC reducing supply to increase price of oil on the market. But for African leaders, we say we are producing more and expect to get more revenue. And then we go back to those who buy these items that we produce as raw materials, as they buy them at raw. We go back to them and say, you are pricing our things wrongly. Why are you giving us less money for it? My friends, they just look at us in the face and laugh. You are the guy manipulating the price against yourself. Let's think. Let's think. You are the guy manipulating the price against yourself. You know, if I want to talk about some of these out, there's a lot of these mistakes we've been doing. Even when it comes to foreign exchange. So we have to understand that we have to use the theories and make policies that are supported by economic theory. And just not get up and do something. It looks like I couldn't get to the main point that I wanted to talk about. So listen to the next segment and you will find it. I think I'll be able to talk about the taxes and the import, the effect on the economy. The way we are using it. That African countries is not helping us. Thank you. I'm done.